Okay, you look very familiar to me.
We spoke about
A
it.
good Chodesh.
He comes to the Tanya
What
Shir.
time is the
You come to Tanya Shir?
Shir is 9 to the Shir. 9:30.
9:30.
9:30, yeah.
9:30.
So with us, we need you're part of the minion already.
Yeah, since we're both lefties and we want to use that. Okay. Oh, thank you so much for joining us. Okay. We're learning, we're in the thicket of the difficult sugya of Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, Carmelis, Malkim Ketur. Like we're in the thicket of it, where this is the backbone of the whole idea of Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, Shabbos, and about how you build a native and so on.
Oh, wow.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
What page is it in this?
Zayin Omid Beis, and go like 7-8 lines from the top.
I
won't
be able. I'm reading the lessons and sorry.
Yeah.
On that.
Okay, we have a chance.
Yeah, the Zayin Omid Beis, actually it's 10 lines from the top. The last word is Carmelis and 2 dots.
This is all the way in the beginning.
All the way in the beginning of Zayin Omid Beis.
Lamed Zayin.
Zayin, not Lamed Zayin. Zayin. Zayin Bet. Zayin Bet.
Zayin
Bet. 10 lines from the top. Gufa Omer Abgidl. Okay.
See it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thank you for sending me that Rambam. Halavai, we could do the same thing. Okay. Zog the Gemorrah. Gufa. Today we're going to learn all about the Rishus HaYachid and the Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaRabim. Another piece in the whole complicated sugya of Rishus HaYachid and Rishus HaRabim. Gufa Amar B'Gidul Amar Rav. Chia Ba Yosef Amar Rav. Ba Yishein Toichoy Asora. V'Kiruyov Mashlimoi LeAsora. So there's a house that on the outside it's just about 10 tvachim. A clubhouse. Children's house. A kid's clubhouse. You know, like the kids make the clubhouse or a little sukkah, a clubhouse. So the kids
in a tree,
right, or a tree house. So let's say this top part right over here is solid wood. It's solid wood. I mean, you need to have something on the top. That's only 1 tefach. What's left from the bottom to top is 9 tvach. So you got everything is good. You have 4 walls in the clubhouse.
Can you remind me what a tefach is? How much tefach centimeters?
Tefach is about this.
Oh, that's a tefach.
It's about a tefach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many tefachim?
10. So the height of 10 tvachim is about that. There's a little bit of dispute between Rebbe Avram Chaim Noah and Chaznish exactly how many centimeters, but roundabout is about this. Is the height of 10 tvachim. So say this was the clubhouse. The inside, if you measure, there is 9 tvachim, and the roof itself is a tefach. So if you're standing on top of the roof, so you have all the dimensions of a Rishus HaYachid, 4 by 4, and 10 tvachim high. Very nice. But what do you do inside? The inside is not 10 tvachim, but the roof, the ceiling is thick, for example, a tefach, and now this 10 tvachim al gag on the gag, on the top, you're allowed to carry from one end to the other end. It's all of one big Rishus HaYachid. Why? Because we consider the walls that are here as if they go up to the sky. We say in Rishus HaYachid, we say good asik and good achis mechitza. We always will pull it down or pull it up, whatever is necessary. We will imagine that these walls that are down here are going up all the way to the sky. So the guy on the top who's standing right here, he has 4 walls around him, and he's on a platform that's 10 tvachim. He's a Rishus HaYachid. That's very nice. However, the person that's inside, that's obviously it's a crawl space, and you can't stand unless the person's a midget. but it's a crawl space in the bottom there. So, but the question is, what's the din in the inside? So, it's like a carmelist. You can't carry more than daladamas. It's a very funny because here you have a case where there's 4 walls around you. 4 walls. You're still not a Rishus HaYachid. Because in order to be a Rishus HaYachid, you need to have 4 walls, plus you need to have 10 tvachim high and 4x4. And it is lacking that. Okay? So that's it. And we spoke about this last week, that a carmelist might be a mokum p'tur with an extra chumrah, or a carmelist really is some place that really should have been in a Rishus HaYachid, but Chacham were machmer, and they said we want it because it looks like, for example, we said a place which sticks in. For example, we said there's townhouses, and
only when there's a lot of people, then they go in.
And right, and one guy built his house, or 2 guys built their house, and the flow of traffic is here. But sometimes people go in here. So even though there's 3 walls, and really it's a Rishus HaYachid, so that is a real Rishus HaYachid. Chacham said, I want you to treat it like a carmelist. Why? Because a lot of people walk here. It looks like a public property. It looks like a public space. So even though Min HaTorah has 3 walls and it's really a Rishus HaYachid, I want you to treat it like a carmelist.
So carmelite is like something that's in the field or something,
right?
Separated from.
Right, carmelite could be Yar v'Carmel. Yeah. Carmelite could be a place which is really not a public place, and is really a carmelite, which Min HaTorah is a no man's land. Chachamim said we want you to treat it like a Rishus HaYachid and like a Rishus HaRabim. We'll put all the chumrot there. But sometimes a carmelist is actually a Rishus HaYachid. But Chacham said, you know what? It looks like a Rishus HaRabim. My people are going to get confused. So we don't want you to treat it like a Rishus HaYachid. Now, what we're talking about right now, this clubhouse, is not really a Rishus HaYachid inside. Why is it not really a Rishus HaYachid? Because to have a real Rishus HaYachid, you have to have 10 tvachim high and 4x4 tvachim, and you don't have that. So therefore, right, exactly. So Min HaTorah, it might be a mokum p'tur, but Chacham said we'll treat it like a carmelist. Let's read it again. A house, a clubhouse. Inside, there isn't 10 tvachim, and the roof, on the roof, you can carry all over. It's a Rishus HaYachid. In the inside, we treat it like a carmelist, and you can't carry more than daladamas. Abai said, if he dug in the floor, in middle, and they say right over here, say this is the floor, and he went and he dug in the ground a hole in the center. He dug a hole 1 or 2 tvachim into the ground. He even one tefach. Elamai, the width is dalad by dalad. So then what happens in chokul by dalad? Bishlim alayud mutal taltal b'kulay. It can be metaltal. It can carry in the whole clubhouse. My time, it's like the holes in a Rishus HaYachid. And the holes of a Rishus HaYachid is considered like a Rishus HaYachid. Why? Because we say that if there's a Rishus HaYachid and there's a hole in the wall, so that's bottom Rishus HaYachid. That's like so. Over here also, it's a gezun saying that here there is a little sort of, he dug into the ground. So if you measure from here, until.
What was the purpose of digging into the ground?
Make it Rishus
HaYachid.
Even though it's only 4x4, but the whole house
now the sides. So the side he dug down in the ground 1 tefach by 4x4. So now all the sides are considered like it's choyde holes of the Rishus HaYachid. And we say that any Rishus HaYachid that has a hole is bottled to the Rishus HaYachid. Funny case. obviously, and a lot of times the Gemorrah cooks up 20 cases.
There's no house like that.
No, because in the state there is no house.
Yeah, but theoretically,
Because where do you get that? And also, where do you get the omkum? Right? Where do you get the richness? You see, you have to look at the boundaries of something. When you want to understand the gedder of something, like if a person will read the whole Chidush Reb Chaim and the Rambam, it's not going to come up with so many Chidushim that in the Geila Maisa every day. It's just that's where the sun hits the horizon. That's where the lumdus is. The lumdus is sometimes in the unusual case. In the everyday case is not where the lumdus is. The lumdus is you catch it at the edge. So that's what the Gemara is a lot of times discussing cases that are not the everyday case. They're discussing the unusual cases. Why? Because that's where it is. That's where that's where the border, when you want to know what's the border between the Rishus Harabim and the Rishus HaYochid, you want to know what's the border between the Carmelist and the Malkam Tur. It's in the weird place, not in the regular place. The border is not usually in the middle of Avenue J. It's somewhere, in Hudson, in Hudson. It's somewhere in Suffolk. It's somewhere far. So that's where the border is. Okay, let's continue. The Gemara continues. Dietmar, we learned whenever you have holes in the Rishus HaYochid and they're open to the Rishus HaYochid, they're like a Rishus HaYochid. What's about the holes in the Rishus HaRabim? They're machloikis. Abayim Rishus HaRabim dam and Rava Malav Rishus HaRabim dam. Abaya says they're like a Rishus HaRabim. Rava says no, they're not a Rishus HaRabim. I mean, we know that the halacha is always like Rava. Bar meyal kegam. Besides, there are 7 cases where the halacha is like Abaya. In the hundreds of places in the whole Shas where there's a machloikis of Abaya v'Rava, the halacha is always like Rava. The Gemara says that the Talmidim would say instead of eating and breaking bones in the dining room of Abaya, eat good fat steak in the house of Rava. Now, I'm not sure if Rava actually served steak or Abaya
says that Rava had a question. He said to his Talmid,
he
went home and he get good steak and then he answer.
Right. So Rava is Bisr Shmeina. Rava, okay. But anyway, here the halach is like Rava. We want to talk about it soon. What's the machloikis? Talk about it soon, but just by pashtus. What's the difference with Rishus Harabim and Rishus HaYochid? Rishus Harabim is a place where a lot of people are walking there. So if there's a hole open to the Rishus Harabim, no one's walking in the hole. They're not walking in the holes. Rishus HaYochid, what makes a place of Rishus HaYochid? It's private property. There's 4 walls. Okay, so there is dimensions to Rishus. If it's a clubhouse and you don't have 4 walls that are with 10 tvachim high and 4 by 4 tvachim, that doesn't have the dinner. But these are essentially what's a Rishus HaYochid? A Rishus HaYochid is private property. Yeah, private property. So the hole that's open to the Rishus HaYochid is also private property. So it's all, you don't need a special chalois for the hole is open to the Rishus HaYochid. So it's a Rishus HaYochid. Rishus Harabim, what makes it a Rishus Harabim? Are people walking there? No, people don't climb in the holes. Abaya is going to say no, but even though people don't climb in the holes, but people go walk and they get tired. And sometimes they have a bottle of seltzer, they have a bottle of Poland Springs in their hand. It's tired. His hand is hurting already. It's Charlie horse. And then he sees in the side of the street, he sees a little nook and cranny on the wall, big enough that he goes, puts down the bottle. He rests up for 2 minutes and then he takes it. So there's a tashmish. People use it. And it always says, don't talk to me, tashmish, mashmish. People walking in the hole. They're not walking in the hole. They're walking on the pavement. So the hole is not a Rishus Harabim. So in Rishus HaYochid, no one's arguing. Because it's open to Rishus HaYochid, the din is a Rishus HaYochid. Rishus Harabim, you have your machloikas Abaya and Rava. If the holes that are open to Rishus Harabim are bottled to Rishus Harabim, are not bottled to Rishus Harabim. Let's read it again. Itmar. We all agree that. No, we don't agree. It's not a Rishus Harabim. Rava asked, So Rava said, I don't understand. You hold that the holds are like Rishus Harabim. My Shlom Mechiosar of Dimi Amar B'Yechel Nitzcha Ela Keren Zavas Smuchel Rishus Harabim. Ve'evet Evet Kechoy Rishus Harabim. I don't understand. Rabbi Yochanan said that one of the things, what's a carmelist? When you have the townhouses here, and there's one or two townhouses that are sticking in, the flow of traffic is going straight. But when it gets packed, a couple of people go into this little inlet, and we call this, even though really it's a Rishus HaYachid, it's a pure Rishus HaYachid's 3 walls, call it a carmelist. He says, I don't understand. Why don't you call this Choyre Rishus Harabim? Madach, a little hole in the wall. A little hole in the wall, tiny hole in the wall. You say it's bottled to the Rishus Harabim. So this is not just a hole in the wall. It's a hole in the floor. It's open, and people do go in. So why would you say, if you say the holes around the Rishus Harabim, bottled Rishus Harabim, why shouldn't this space in front of these 2 townhouses be bottled to the Rishus Harabim? Good question. So Abai answered. Abai said, Nachmal. Rav asked Abai, you said the whole Rishus Harabim bottled to the Rishus Harabim. That Kenan Zavid has been of a carmelist with the Hever Rishus Harabim. Why don't you consider it like Rishus Harabim the bottled to Rishus Harabim? Question. So the Gemara answers. So over there, the flow of traffic is here. People have to get from point A to point B. No one has business doing in here. It's just that sometimes it gets packed and people are pushing each other on the street. So a few people get shoved in here. No one wants to go here. People need to get from here to here. Who wants to walk in here? It's just that it gets so packed that they get pushed in. They're not happy to go there. But if there's a little hole in the side of the road, and he has a bottle in his hand, that's neicha. It's comfortable. It's good for him. So therefore, the little holes are bottled to the Rishus Harabim. But
it's the same hole. Here you call it
yeah, but it's totally because this is neicha tashmisha and this is loy neicha tashmisha. Good answer. Talk to Gemara. Continue. Now, we learned Tazerik down with the Bekois, Mamayla Beyut, Kazerik Ba'ave. Lamata Beyut, Vachim Kazerik Ba'aretz. We learned in the Mishnah that the person throws in the Rishus Harabim 4 amas, and it lands higher than 10 tvachim. That's nothing. It's like throwing it in the ear, and it's like a mokapatur. Lamatam yu tvachim. If it lands lower than 2 tvachim, it's about it, and it's chayim because it went 4 amas. It didn't. It has to have anocha. It has to land on something. It has to land on a makom choshuv. We can talk later. So it has to be dal. It has to land. It has to be anocha and a makom choshuv. Rav Yochanan said we're talking about a fig, a fat big fig, like kids have silly putty, and they go, and it hits the wall and it sticks to the wall. So they didn't have silly putty; they just had dveila shmeina. So if a kid wanted to play with silly putty, he brought a few dveilas, and he'd go, and it would hit the wall, and it would stick to the wall. So there was anacha; it landed on the wall. Okay, that's what Rabbi Yochanan said. It landed on the wall. It landed on the wall. Okay, good. If it's true, to ask the Rava that a little hole open to the Rishus Harabim is bottled to Rishus Harabim, why do you have to tell me it's talking about this funny case of silly putty of a dveila shmeina? Lukma b'tzmaror, a chayfetz, could be a rock, it could be any object. It landed in the hole, and it went from his hand, which his hand is, we learned earlier in the Gemara, is a makam chashuv. It went daladamas with Rishus Harabim, and it landed in a little hole that also has a din Rishus Harabim. You're telling me that a hole that's open to Rishus Harabim is bottled to Rishus Harabim? So why couldn't we answer that that's the pshat in the Mishnah? Why did Rabbi Yochanan have to cook up a funny story? Now what happened? That it was silly putty, and it landed on the wall and it stuck to the wall. What have to give me such funny tirutzim? So a good head, it's a good kasha. So Zimnin Mishanile, Abaye, when they would ask him this question, Sunday he would answer one answer, and Monday a different answer. Zimne Mishaneloi, sometimes he would say, Shani Tzeror B'Chefetz, the Mahadir B'Osi. He says that, maybe I could have answered that, but it's not a good answer because, what are we talking about? A person throws something. Usually when you throw something, a regular object, if you're throwing it, unless it's an unusual thing, or you know what you're doing. If there's a little hole sticking in the wall, it's a tiny hole, and you took a rock and you threw Daled Amos, is quite a distance. Daled Amos is anywhere about, according to the Chazon Ish, about 8 feet. You're at an 8 feet distance, and you take a rock and you throw it, and it hits a rock wall that has a little nook inside. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to land? No, it's going to go flying back. It's not going to land there, unless you're I don't know how to play baseball, so I couldn't rugby.
No, on the floor, on the grass.
Football.
No.
Soccer.
The small ball. Golf.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, because that's a hard ball.
No, but this is to hit.
Yeah, exactly. Golf. And then, even then, they're doing it with a stick. It's a golfer. Yeah, Tiger Woods can figure it out. But for a regular person that's going to take a chayfetz, which is hard, and throw it on a rock wall, it's not going to land. It's going to fall back. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan wanted to explain the Mishnah in a more plausible way. And he said, she's talking about a Dveila Shmeina, but true, he could have said this also. Whatever. He one answer, the other answer. Zimnin,
but Dveila, it's a stick.
That's good, exactly. He'll always stick. The other one is going to fall out.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods could get it. Okay, shine. So when Rabbi Yochanan didn't want to say the Mishnah is talking about Tiger Woods, he wanted to say for every person. Dveila Shmeina, you go, it hits the wall and it sticks. So he didn't want to say that. So he didn't want to say that the Mishnah was talking about a funny case. Zim the Mishanelo, sometimes they'd answer even better. He would say, because that Mishnah is talking about a wall, obviously it has no holes in it. Why? How do I know that? We learned in the beginning of the Mishnah, if he throws it higher than 10 tefachim, it's throwing its stam in the air. It's like a makam tur. If you're talking about a wall that has holes in it, why is it zayr? And it's as if it landed in the Reshus HaYochid. So never mind the Daled Amos. He threw from Reshus Haram to Reshus HaYochid. How are you going to say that maybe it's talking about it's a small hole, and it wasn't big enough that there was not a choshev amakim. If he threw something higher than 10 tvachim and it landed in a little hole, we ended up at the machlokas at Amei v'Rabbanan. The Amei Sava choykikim lahashlim, v'Rabbanan Sabri en choykikim lahashlim. There's a machlokas about if we imagine that we carve out the space to be a bigger space. Where is it Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbanan talking about? They're talking about a person has a door. So a regular door, Safta Mamazuz Beisecha Uvisharecha, is a door, is the Chazal say has to be a minimum of 10 by 4 tefachim. Now, what happens if the door is not the problem is it's good, and the bottom is good. It's 10 tefachim in the center, and the center is 10 tefachim, and at the bottom there's 4 tefachim. And the problem is that it's rounded like this. That the side is rock. It's a fancy door. It goes like this. So if you measure from the floor to the top of the door, you get 10 tefachim. If you measure from side to side, on the lower part, up to 3 tefachim from the ground, there's 4 tefachim. But as you go up, on the upper part, it a little bit closes in. So the Meir says, "Choykekim lahashlim." We carve it out. We imagine in our mind that this is all carved out. We make an imaginary carve out. We carve it out. Choykekim lahashlim. We're carving it out. We make believe it's square, not a dome. Chacham said there's no make believe. So same thing here. But the Rashi says the problem is that Stam Mishnah is Remeir. So because Stam Mishnah is Remeir, so we can't say a Mishnah not like Remeir. So if we're talking about that there was a hole, there was some little hole in the wall, and Stam Mishnah is Remeir, and Remeir holds Choykikim Lahashlim, that we carve it out as if it's big enough. So why didn't, and now he's saying if he threw it higher than 10 Tvachim, it's nothing. What do you mean it's nothing? It's the worst. He threw it from a Reshus HaRabim and it landed in the Reshus HaYachid, according to the Meir. And again, Stam Mishnah the Meir. So therefore, Abaye said, I understand why Rabbi Yochanan didn't want to say that the Mishnah is talking about a wall with holes. Because as soon as you say that we're talking about a wall with holes, someone's going to say, hey, in the beginning of the Mishnah, it says that he threw it and it landed higher than 10 Tvachim. So it's nothing. It's a Makam Tur, it's nothing. But according to the Meir, you could never say it's a Makam Tur. We know the Meir has an opinion that Choykikim Lahashlim, that we make this imaginary carve out. So, and somebody showed him say it's Chakol Shekain. Madoch by mezuzah, which says that it has to be a door, and Chazal said a door is no less than 10 and 4. Still, we have this imaginary carving. So Kol Shekain here, we need it to be Makam Choshev, so, but it's an Reshus HaYachid, we'll carve it out. So therefore, we didn't want to say that Rabbi Yochanan didn't want to say that this Mishnah, which is at a Meir, which that Mishnah the Meir, is against the Meir. Therefore, Rabbi Yochanan said that this Mishnah is talking about there's a wall with straight wall with no holes in it, and therefore, if he threw it. So, and Rabbi Yochanan said that what's talking about is that he threw a silly putty, a dvei l'shmeina. So if it lands higher than 10, it went to Makam Ptur. So he's potter. You have to, the only chayiv when you throw in a Reshus HaRabim, Dal Damas, they go from point A to point B. There's Akira Vanocha in the Reshus HaRabim. The here was Akira Reshus HaRabim, Manocha, Makam Ptur. But if it landed lower than 10 Tvachim, so then we say it's from point A and point B, Akira Vanocha in the Reshus HaRabim. So therefore, don't talk to me about that Mishnah. The Rabbi Yochanan had no choice. Don't ask me why Rabbi Yochanan said it was talking about silly putty. Don't ask me, Rabbi Yochanan should have said there's a hole in the wall. There was no hole in the wall. Obviously, there's talking about there was no hole in the wall over there. So therefore, you ask me the wrong question, said Abaye. Allah Shamana, because of the lesbian Chushmam, and says Abaye is right. Abaye is right. He brought a good raya. Okay. But still, Rava doesn't agree, just because he answered his question. Rava doesn't agree. Rava haltzach bazans. Rava says, no. So I just want to summarize here. So what do we have, the whole thing that we learned today? An interesting machloikas. Everyone agrees if you have a little hole, has a din of Reshus HaRabim, there's the machloikas. Interesting thing, if you think about it, as I said before.
It's the same hole, and here.
Right, here it's bottle, and here's not bottle. Why? So again, like I said before, Reshus HaYachid essentially is private property. It's my property. It has 4 walls, has a ceiling. Private property, sign. Transpassing. It's private property. So now it has a little hole. What's the difference? Reshus HaYachid is bottle to Reshus HaYachid. Reshus HaRabim, it doesn't mean public property. Reshus HaRabim, even if someone is showing them hole, they have to have 600,000 people walking there every day, maybe even every street, whatever. We spoke about it 2-3 weeks ago. But even if you hold that you don't need to have 600,000 people, right? That's what makes it that complication about building a native today, right? How you hold, what do you hold as a real Reshus HaRabim? There's a public property as a Reshus HaRabim. It means public, it's people are walking here. But people are not walking in the holes. So that's but Abaye says, no, people are not walking there, but they're using it. So that's the machloikas Abaye V'Rav. I think if you think about it for a minute, Agaval spoke about what's a Reshus HaYachid in Shabbos, a private place, Yechida Shaloylam. It's Nikir, at this place there's an owner. What's a Reshus HaRabim? It's a jungle. It's not Nikir that this place is Yechida Shaloylam. It's not noticeable.
Nobody.
Right, it's not noticeable that the Eibush is the Balabas. And that's why Reshus HaYachid, we said, is Oila, we spoke about it last week, is Oila, Reshus HaYachid goes up Ad L'Rakia. Reshus HaYachid is Yechida Shalaylam, the Eibush, Reshus HaRabim, it's a jungle, it looks like the world is a jungle. So we say like this. A person is doing the right thing. A person is working hard in his life, is trying to do Avodas Hashem. Is every detail in my life perfect? Avodas Hashem? Not yet. But he was choykek. He made one part of his life is already a pure Reshus HaYachid. The other parts, Chazal say, abolatar mesayinoisei. A person tries to do the right thing, he tries to be tahara. From heaven, they help him out. The choidim, the other things that are not yet Rishus HaYochid, but since they're choidim Rishus HaYochid, they're bottled to Rishus HaYochid. So I didn't yet make a perfect Rishus HaYochid in my property. All around is not yet really a Rishus HaYochid. Say that because already one part of my life is a Rishus HaYochid. It's nicker, it's noticeable that Yechidah Shaloylam, that the Eibush is the Balabos, the Balabos private property belongs to the Eibush there. So the other things start falling into place, they become bottled to it. But we don't say it the opposite. A person's Chas v'Shalom standing in Rishus HaRabim, unfortunately, a person is confused, and the person is just like fractured, he's all over the place, and is not noticeable right now in his life that it's Yechidah Shalom, it's private property, the world is not a jungle, the world is not fractured, there's the Shkocha Protis, the Eibishter runs the place. Unfortunately, he's in darkness. He's right now in the place of Rishus HaRabim. Everything is flying, everything is coming, everything is random. It's random, a lot of random things are flying here and there, and he's in very big confusion. So we don't say, but the Choyde Rishus HaRabim should also be bottled. No, whatever. Where's Rishus HaRabim? Is Rishus HaRabim? The Choydim, the other things are not. The Rishus HaRabim, which is Klippa, doesn't have such a power to eat in, to take, that also the Choyde Rishus HaRabim should be bottled to Rishus HaRabim. Whatever. Rishus HaRabim is Rishus HaRabim. The other things in the side of the Tzidr Rishus HaRabim, Keren Zavis, Choyde Rishus HaRabim. Tosis talks about it as 3 levels. There's Choyde Rishus HaRabim, there's Tzidr Rishus HaRabim, and there's Keren Zavis. These things are not so poshut. It's not so poshut. It's machloikis. And Rabbi says, no. And even Abaya, he'll be moide, but Keren Zavis is not, you know, not, but Keren Zavis taka, Abaya, even Abaya is moide, is not bottled to Rishus HaRabim. It's not just because it's klipa, it's tumah. So the place that's open to it, tumah is not so strong to eat up also the sides. Tumah is not so strong to eat up the sides. But Rishus HaYochid is strong. It eats up. If a person has a kedusha, lernt a sicha, lernt a maimer, tafa brengen, lernt a shtickle Gemorrah. So then that's very strong. That's choykikim lahashlam. That makes a chakik in the nefesh, and then the sides, the choyrim fall into place. Then eventually they also fall in. But Rishus HaRabim doesn't have that power to take in also the choyrim. Okay, that's what.
Only in Benay Hanukkah you have to like dafka restoring.
Oh, but it's takas a chiddush. Like a big chiddush. Like it's a big chiddush. Punkt faket. We're going into the Mokum Arabim. You bring the Hanukkah.
You do it in the Rav.
Right, taka. Big chiddush.
You do bring.
You bring taka, bring oil in there. She said, taka. So the Gemara, the last 5 lines. Gufa, 6 lines. Gufa, Amrav Chizde. No, it's Kona, but it's just a Yachid, Zorak, V'nachal Gaba. A person puts a stick in the middle of Rishus HaYochid.
Lay down.
Yeah, put something on it. I feel like a way I'm a chayv. The Rishus HaYochid oil al l'rakia. Rishus HaYochid goes up to heaven. We said the Rishus HaRabim only goes up 10 tefachim. Rishus HaYochid goes up to the heaven. Zorak Gemara, Lemer B'chitzidam Berkei Rebbe, the Tanya, Zorak V'nachal Gaba is called Shur Rebbe Machayv V'chamim Poitrim. That Al Malabinan Mokum Dal Daled. So it should say that the Rebbe get involved with this machloikis. It's mashma that there's a machloikis. If you need to have anoch and a makam choshev of dal, that's what the machloikis of Rebbe Chachamim is. And it's see the Rebbe took sides on this machloikis. As like the Gemara Abaye, no, he didn't take any sides. But Rishus HaYochid, Chesam Adalef. No, Abaye says, Rishus HaYochid, L'kula alma loy pligi kireb Chizde. There's no argument in Rishus HaYochid that, like Reb Chizda said, that you don't need a makam choshu of dal dalat. You don't need a makam choshu dal dalat. Tosis explains, even though we said before, we just went through saying that in Rishus HaYochid you do need. We had a whole thing. He says, but Tosfos says that's only a place that you're trying to make it into Rishus HaYochid. But if it's already Rishus HaYochid, so Tosfos says, basic mandamal yedamya. Rishus HaYochid, it's as if you put foam. It's as if even though there's air, it's like foam from here to the sky. It's foam. It's like as if it's full of foam. The house is full of foam. So any place that you put in the house, you could say this place is considered as if it's sitting on a makam choshev dal. Rishus HaYochid is as if there's foam from here to the sky. You filled it up with foam. It's full. Basic command yedamya. The house is considered as if it's full. So therefore, no one's going to argue here that wherever you put in a house, if it's a Rishus HaYochid, even though this thing is just sticking out right here, mamash over here, a guy went out from the window and he put something right on this, but this thing is nothing. It's a pen. He put it on the top of here. It doesn't matter. We imagine in our eyes that there's foam all around here, and this place is dal, the makam choshev. The guy went from the window and he put it like this. I don't know how he made it, but whatever, he figured out that it should stand. So you say, "Whoa, well, look, the top of the pen is nothing. It's a drop." No, we look as if there's foam from all sides, and we say, "Oh, you put it on a makim dal tvach." That's when you're putting something into the Rishus HaYochid. Oh, but the machloikis in the Mishnah, Rabbi Chachamim was talking about something else. We're talking about the Elon. The Elon is takas in Rishus HaYochid, so therefore it has a din of Rishus HaYochid. But there is a branch that sticks out to the Rishus HaRabim. And now he threw something and it fell on the branch. The Rebbe Savar in the Rishus HaRabim. So now the shaila is, how do you look at the branch? Is a bottle to the Rishus HaRabim, a bottle to the Rishus HaYochid? The Rebbe Savar in the Shadei Noifei Basar. The Rebbe says that the branch is bottled to the Iker. So because exactly. So therefore, you don't need to have a makim dal because we have already the rule that in Rishus HaYochid is full of foam. So in Rishus HaYochid, you don't need a makim dal. But Rabbanan Savri, lo yamrin shadei noifei bas ikir. Rabbanan said no, we don't go with the branch; should go to the ikir. So okay. So therefore, you need to have a makom choshev. You need to have a makom daled al daled. Here too, you see how Rishus HaYochid has a much stronger power. Like we see, bottom line, Rishus HaYochid, we say it's as if it's full of foam to the sky. So even if it's a tiny space, and you put it on here, it's as if you put it on a makim choshev that's dal tochen. And in Rishus HaRabim, if this pen was standing in Rishus HaRabim, and you put it on this, we say you didn't put it on a makim dal. There needs to be a makim dal. So again, we see how Rishus HaYochid has a much stronger power in it than the Rishus HaRabim. Again, for the same reason, for the same thing. We spoke about the last week an interesting thing. The Pirkei Avos spoke about this actually on Chamishas B'Shvat. So the Pirkei Avos says Ben Bagbag Oimer and Ben Hey Oimer. It's a very funny name. Ben Bagbag and Ben Hey.
From the songs also.
Ben Bagbag. Exactly.
No, why we said why it's called Ben Bagbag and why it's called Ben Hey.
So why is it called Ben Bagbag? Because he's Ben Geir or Ben Giyoidis. And why Beis Gimel together is a hey. And Avram and Sarah got an extra hey, Avamoin Goyim. And Sarah instead of Sarai was a Sarah. So Geir is Messiachis Avram and Sarah. So Ben Hey, his name was Ben Hey, because he was a Geir. And Ben Bagbag, he couldn't, if his name was Ben Hey, how would you know the difference between Ben Bagbag and Ben Hey? So therefore, his name was Ben Bagbag. But the Rebbe says another cute word that Ben Bagbag could be he himself wasn't a ger. He was Ben Ger or Ben Giyoris. Ben Hey.
His parents became ger.
And he was born already a yid. Ben Hey, he himself was a ger. So he himself was Ben Hey, Ben Avram Avinu, Ben Sarah Imeinu. Mashenk and Ben Bagbag was Meram as the Beis and Gimel together is a Hey. But really, there were Ben Ger and Ben Giyoris. So the Rebbe had said that a nice word. That what? The Pirkei Avos, the way it's not the way we have it in the Siddur, but the way it's in the Gemara and the Mishnah is the Pirkei Avos finishes with this Mishnah. Ben hey yomer lefum tzayda agra. Ben bag bagem afoch b'tkula bo, and ben hey lefum tzayda agra. So the Rebbe's word was that Wadafka Ger has the lefum tzayda, because a Yid is obligated to do it. You're obligated to do it. So the schar is l'fi atzar. And that's all part of the pain is all part of the job. But a ger, who said he has to become a ger? B'chlal? Who says he has to become a ger? He didn't have to do it, and it's a lot of tzar. 7 mitzvahs is not so hard to keep. 613 mitzvahs is very hard to keep, and the punishments are very stiff. So therefore, we say, don't worry, lefum tzayda agra. So and then the Rebbe said that this is Pirkei Avos because b'shas you start Pirkei Avos say Moshe Kippur Torah Sinai. All the Yidden went through Geiros Shabbat Torah. Okay. Then the following Fabrengen, the Rebbe someone asked, what do you mean? There's a saying that's brought from the Chidah in the name of Rebbe Yehuda Chosed that Chazal say Gershin is Gaya. It doesn't say Goyshin is Gaya. Why doesn't it say Goyshin is Gaya? Because a goy is never Megaya. A goy bleibt a goy. If a person's Megaya is a raya that he was always had in the Neshama,
And then it sucks.
and it was there and it came out. So what's so special about a ger? Is a ger also really was supposed to be Jewish. The Rebbe said a very cute answer. The Rebbe said very cute answer that we find that the Alter Rebbe said that a person has to learn the whole Torah. Has to learn the whole Torah. What's if a person comes to heaven? He didn't learn the whole Torah. What do you do? What do you do with a person like that? So they send him another Gilgal and say, listen, you learned half the Torah, go back down to this world, learn up the other half of Torah, you come back when you're ready. What's if a second time he doesn't learn the whole Torah? They send him out a third time until he learns the whole Torah. Keep on sending him down. Begilgal zeh, begilgal ach. So it's a funny thing. On the one hand, every Gilgal has his own cheshbon. It's a new metzius. Every Gilgal is a new cheshbon. On the other hand, you see that they keep on sending the neshama begilgal zeh, begilgal ach, until he finishes learning the whole Torah. That's why the Rebbe made the takana to learn Rambam. The Rebbe said the Mashiach is about to come. We don't have time to make more Gilgulim. Who has time for that? The Mashiach is to come. So if every Yid is going to learn Rambam, going to learn the whole Chilchas HaTorah, either in a cycle going through every year, every 3 years. So we're metfashbon in the Gilgulim. Anyway, we see that there's such a thing, begilgal zeh, begilgal ach. So also the Ger, who says that when the neshama came down in this world, that this guy is obligated to be Megaya, who can live a whole life and never bump into a Jew, and never read about Jews, and never know about the Jews, and unfortunately he'll never be Megaya. The neshama was supposed to be Megaya. And begilgal zeh, begilgal ach, be another Gilgal. Another Gilgal. We learned, if you remember, when we did the special sheet I did in Shavuos about that tension between Chol Yom that we say that pas ploni leploni, and the other hand, the Gemara says that you got to try to make a shidduch, wrap it up very quick. Shema yaktimenu acha berachman. So how did the two things jive? So we spoke about this on many levels. Pshat, Remes, Drush, and Soid, and a lot of terutzim. There's a lot of shittas about this. But one of the things that we brought up, Al Pi Kabbalah, is that sometimes a guy is lazy. He's lazy. Okay, you know what? They say begilgal acher. We'll do it begilgal acher. It happens. It can happen. It could happen still that the person finds a shidduch mishoidish nishmasa is nicht gefährlich. If it's mishoidish nishmasa, they could live together good. It's not mishoidish nishmasa. He's going to be fireworks now. Compatible. It's from the shoidish of that neshama. It's like they can live together nicely. They can figure things out.
If a guy doesn't keep the Sheva Mitzvot Noach, he come back in the Gilgul to finish them? Only Jews?
It's a good question. I don't think so.
It
doesn't make sense. Yeah.
And another question, why it's double Ben Bakbak and Hey?
No, because the father and the mother. No, Ben Ger, Ben Giyoidis, Ben Avram, Ben Zora. The hay from Avram and the hay from Zora.
Because the guy 2-year-old came to the big tzaddik and I told him, I need to help you shidduch. He said, soon she's going to born. So, oh my God, I'm 30, soon she's going to born. I'll be 50, what?
Or
A week later, I got engaged to Agiolet.
Two?
Agiolet.
Shumi, you wanted to say something?
Last pointing little pointing, and I'm not joking. Just to show Mikra, and all you people that have daughters that are of age, don't worry, they're not talking about your kids. Last pointing means I am 40. I'm going to marry someone. Last point, a generation below me, a 20-year-old.
I think it from 40 to 20.
Because I generate, I don't know, 25 years younger maybe. Now, am I crazy? We're taking traditional Mikra?
No, Bas pointing means that the father has to pay for the expenses in the chasna.
It's still literally Bas Ploini, Leploini.
That's what every caterer says.
I'm getting the next.
When he comes with the bill at the end of the chasna, and you say, "Where are you coming to me? Go to my mechutin." Says, "Is it your daughter?" Yes, your daughter. Okay, here's the bill.
I need someone my own age. Can I answer them Bas Ploini, Leploini, and they can't argue.
You're saying you have no prejudice. You could tell them. You have no prejudice of age. You won't hold it against them if they're 22 years old.
No. I want to not say that I'm okay with it. I want to say that according to Gemorrah, I have. According to Bas Koil, who am I to argue?
You could say whatever you say. If you convince the Shadchan, you could say whatever you could say. The Alter Rebbe says that in Shidduchim sometimes l'mayla matam v'das. That's why sometimes to make Shidduchim happen, you have to say things that are not based on tam v'das. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the bottom line is, so that's what was it to do with our sugya, that the special thing of a Geir is that he was a goy, he became a yid, l'fum tzarag, same thing here. There's a special thing of taking a Reshus Harabim, which is a public space, and making it a Reshus Yochid, a place, the Yechidah Shel Olam, where it's nikir, the world is not a jungle, it's not a chaos, that everything is Bashkoch Yoina and everything is Miti is Baruch Rebbe shall help, and that we should, every one of us, we should be able to make Reshus Harabim and Reshus Yochid. Where we got it?
Right here. 2 down.